Atlanta just dropped a bomb on the NFL. 12 players are gone, just like that. And the Falcons roster battle is officially turning into a war. Some names we expected, others sting a little more than fans realize. The Dirty Birds are trimming down, and this cut list tells us exactly who this team is putting their faith in. It's official. The Falcons have released 12 players before Tuesday's final cut deadline, 6 on offense, 6 on defense. That leaves the roster at 77 players, and every single spot now feels like it's worth its weight in gold. On the offensive side, the cuts were Matthew Sinrich, Ben DiNucci, Elijah Dotson, Nola Kalanick, Jesse Matthews, and Quincy Skinner Jr. No huge shocks, but every name has its own story. Ben DiNucci, for example, made headlines in the most DiNucci way possible. He announced his release on social media and celebrated with an airport beer. That's the NFL sometimes. One moment you're in camp, the next moment you're raising a glass to your next chapter. But the toughest cut here? Elijah Dotson. He had a solid game against the Cowboys, showed flashes of speed and vision, but the truth is the Falcons' running back room is simply too stacked. Bijan Robinson looks ready to be an MVP candidate. Tyler Allgeier is still the bruiser. Nathan Carter has fought his way into the RB3 spot, and Carlos Washington Jr. isn't someone this staff is ready to move on from. There just wasn't room for Dotson, no matter how hard he fought. At wide receiver, Jesse Matthews is worth a mention. 3 catches in the entire preseason just wasn't enough. And honestly, making this Falcons receiver room is brutal right now. Even Chris Blair and Dylan Drummond, 2 names fans have been buzzing about, are far from safe. That's how competitive this camp has been. The Falcons aren't just trimming numbers, they're sharpening their identity. Every cut is a message about who belongs, who's on the rise, and who's fighting to hang on. So now I've got to ask you, how confident are you in this Falcons roster after the first wave of cuts? Rate your confidence from 1 to 10 in the comments right now, and tell me which player you were most surprised to see let go. The wide receiver picture is starting to clear up, and it's brutal out there. Right now, the 6 guys I see making the roster are Drake London, Darnell Mooney, Ray McLeod, Catterall Hodge, Casey Washington, and Jamal Agnew. That's the group Atlanta seems ready to roll with, and it explains why Jesse Matthews didn't survive this round of cuts. The competition at wideout is just too deep. Now, here's where things get interesting. You probably noticed the math didn't quite add up with those 12 cuts. So how did we get from 90 to 77 instead of 78? That answer comes from the offensive line. Jake Hansen has been placed on injured reserve. And this isn't just a 4-week hold. Hansen doesn't have a designation to return, which means he'll miss the entire regular season. The only possible way he could come back is if the Falcons make the postseason and decide to activate him then. But right now, that feels like a long shot. It's always tough to see a player's season end before it even begins. Hansen worked hard, and this is the kind of setback no player ever wants. But from a roster standpoint, it means he no longer counts against the 53-man total. That's why Atlanta technically only needed 12 cuts instead of 13. When you look at the offensive cuts overall, I've got to be honest, I think the Falcons handled this the right way. No shocking decisions, no clear mistakes. This was about trimming the bottom of the depth chart, and the front office got it right. If I had to grade it, I'd give these offensive cuts a solid A, but here's the real suspense, the defense. Because that's where the names get bigger, the decisions get tougher, and the emotions get stronger. And trust me, some of these defensive cuts will open eyes. But first, I want to hear from you. How would you grade Atlanta's offensive cuts? Drop your grade in the comments. A, B, C, D, or F. Did the Falcons get it right? Or do you think they let the wrong guy go? Now we turn to the defense, and this is where things got real. The Falcons made 6 defensive cuts. Morgan Fox, Lamar Jackson, Caleb Johnson, Nick Kubitz, Ronnie Perkins, and Josh Thompson. On paper, none of these are shocking, but the message behind them is loud and clear. This coaching staff is not holding back. They are being ruthless. No free passes. If you can't play at the level they demand, you're out. Let's start with Josh Thompson. Honestly, his performance against Dallas told the whole story. He got tossed around like a rag doll, blown off the ball, knocked over by second and third string offensive linemen. Time after time, he lost the physical battle. And in the NFL, if you can't hold your ground, you're not going to survive long. The Cowboys exposed him, and it cost him his spot. But the real headline here is Morgan Fox. This is the cut that raised eyebrows. Fox wasn't just a camp body, he was part of Atlanta's initial free agency wave. A proven veteran with 120 career games and 8 seasons under his belt. That's the kind of player you'd expect to anchor depth, maybe even start. But instead, Fox suited up for all 3 preseason games, and the production wasn't there. Just 4 tackles total, only 1 for loss. That's not enough when the Falcons are demanding dominance from their defensive line. The Falcons didn't bring in guys like Jalen Walker and James Pierce Jr. to sit around. They want fresh legs, hungry talent, and more firepower up front. And when the competition is that fierce, a veteran who doesn't produce gets left behind, no matter how long his resume is. It's a harsh reality, but it shows something important. This defense is being built differently. Atlanta is done being soft in the trenches. If you don't bring impact, if you don't set the tone, you're gone. So I want to hear from you, Falcons fans. Was cutting Morgan Fox the right call, or should Atlanta have kept his veteran presence on the line? Drop your take in the comments. Right move or big mistake? When Morgan Fox failed to claim his spot, it was tough. But the other headline name here? Lamar Jackson. And let's clear it up right away. No, not that Lamar Jackson. This is Atlanta's Lamar Jackson, the defensive back. And the truth is simple, he didn't play well enough. Not even close. This preseason, Jackson was exposed over and over again. Against Tennessee in particular, he got absolutely picked apart during that 2-minute drill before halftime. 3 throws came his way, and all 3 were completed. That's not just bad luck, that's bad coverage. Worse than the stats, though, was the body language. Hands in the air, shoulders slumped, frustration written all over him. That's not the kind of energy this Falcons staff wants in their locker room. When you combine poor play with poor attitude, your chances of sticking around vanish fast. And the problem for Jackson? Competition. The cornerback room is already crowded. AJ, Terrell, Clark Phillips, D. Alford, Mike Hughes, Kevin King, and more. And then came the rise of Nathan Brooks. Now, I've been critical of Brooks' tackling. He's still got to clean that up, but let's give credit where it's due. His coverage this preseason has been rock solid. In joint practices, in preseason games, he flat out outperformed Lamar Jackson. That's why Brooks is still standing, while Jackson is gone. For Atlanta, this wasn't just about cutting a guy who struggled. It was about shaping the culture. The Falcons are choosing fight, grit, and accountability over excuses and bad body language. So I'll ask you straight up, did the Falcons make the right call moving on from Lamar Jackson? Drop a yes or no in the comments. And if you think another corner should have been on the chopping block instead, let me know who.